Hey, niños. Good morning, guys. Guys, can anyone tell me if we talk about what happened after the consummation of independence, please? Did we talk about that or not? Guys, anyone? Okay. Excellent. So we are going to continue with the subject, the topic of the independence, of course, but we are going to talk about what happened after independence, okay? Well, this is really important because you could think that everything after independence was going to be excellent and great for Mexico, right? That in Mexico we were going to be free, and of course the next years were going to be excellent, whatever. Okay, but the reality is different because after independence start the years of chaos. Imagine this: you are living now with your parents, right? Imagine you start to live alone by yourselves. What could you need in that scenario? What could you need? To live alone.
Services?
Exactly. Like what?
Uh, Food, water, shelter.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, Victoria. Yes, of course. We're talking that if you start to live without your parents, you will need some kind of source, right? Like a job for having money, and of course, with that money, pay your rent, pay your food, pay whatever you need. Okay. Well, imagine that you don't know how to live in that case. Okay. Well, Mexico start to live something like that. Okay, because remember that the Spaniards have been on Mexico for 300 years, and that was a really long period of time, okay? So, of course, when everything finished, they didn't know how to act, how to administrate the money, how to make things, okay? How to govern. So, that's why it starts the years of chaos, okay? And here says Mexican hopes that independence will bring a modernized economy and more egalitarian society were not realized in the next century. Yes, that's why. Instead, the legacy of the battle for independence was the increased importance of an unscrupulous military and bankrupt treasury. That's why I was talking about bankrupt, okay? In its first 40 years, Mexico had more than 50 governments. Can you imagine that? It's incredible. One year, one year, guys, there were as many as 5 changes in the presidency. Can you imagine to have 5 presidents in just one year? That's amazing. So, yes, it was a chaos, a completely disorganization. Okay, so taking advantage of the unsettled political situation, foreign governments intervene. Yes, of course, everyone wants to have a little part of Mexico, a little piece of cake. They will say, okay. So what happened next? Of course, we are talking about that in New Spain we have the viceroyalty, right? That way of govern with a viceroy, of course. But when New Spain finish and start um, Mexico as free govern, they need to look up for a new way of govern, okay? And this new way of govern was the empire, okay? Remember that. Well, a significant misfortune for the new nation of Mexico was to have the disreputable Iturbide as its first leader. Iturbide was to govern freely, but an enormous nation covering 1.73 million square miles from California through Central America to Panama. Can you imagine the gigantic Mexico it was? Yes, of course, it was enormous. Okay, its borders with United States to the north and Belize to the south were not clearly demarcated, however. Well, guys, by that times, the people um, didn't know exactly this kind of quantity of territory we have, but we used to have, right? Well, not all its territories had participated in the War of Independence. That's something important, but that doesn't mean that the people wasn't in favor of the independence, okay? Everyone was in favor. The United States was territory hungry, and both Great Britain and France were seeking special trade concessions. This started to be a problem, guys, because they wanted to have, as I was saying, a piece of cake of Mexico, and of course, Mexico didn't know what to do. So they started to abuse of Mexico in some kinds, okay? And maybe not abusing it at all, but yes, they wanted to have their piece of cake, and they will do anything to have it. As his first concern for little in such a vast nation plagued by so many foreign policy issues, the pompous ruler devoted himself to making elaborate plans for his coronation a few months later on July 21, 1822. So that's why we have Emperor Iturbide, okay? Iturbide and his Creole supporters had thought that replacing the Peninsulares in government would automatically rectify the ills of Mexican economy, okay? But that wasn't true, because remember that haciendas had been burned and sacked. Well, that's impressive, because haciendas, remember that, were one of the first and significantly important, very important actually, in New Spain, okay? Because haciendas had a lot of jobs and a lot of things like encomienda, like the panache and all that kind of stuff that started to make things difficult in these moments, because, well, they had been burned and sacked. Well, the colonial economy was destroyed. Nothing was invested and restarting in economy. So imagine the money of Mexico started to be spent in a lot of things, and it never came back, we can say, okay? We haven't produced, on that time, that people hadn't produced enough to restore economy, okay? And well, when short of funds, the government attempts to borrow them, incurring more debt. That's why we have a lot of debt. Actually, we have a big debt in these days, okay? Because of that. Okay, well, and what happened with this man? It didn't take long for Iturbide to lose support, okay? Because, of course, he didn't was act well, he wasn't acting like he had to, so that's why he was losing support. Some Creoles, embarrassed by Iturbide's success, wanted an European prince installed as monarch, but many confirmed monarchists joined the Republican side. So they didn't want an empire anymore, because it wasn't going as the way they think. So they decided they wanted to have a republic instead of the empire, okay? And when a military coup forced the emperor to abdicate, how they did it? Well, with the plan of Casamata, okay? You have to remember this plan is really important. With the plan of Casamata, they decided they didn't want anymore Iturbide and forced him to abdicate. So he says, His Majestic office only 8 months after coronation. So can you see that the empire of Iturbide didn't last long, okay? Mexico debt was remarkable as the disarray of its government, so that was gigantic. Mexico forced several times international aggressions. Yes, of course. On the island of San Juan de Ulua, Spanish military supporters of a reconquest took refuge until 1825. So it took very, very long time to Spaniards go away. And when Mexican troops managed to expel them. So that was good, because they did it. They expelled them. Well, in 1829, the monarch, Fernando VII, you remember this guy, tried to restore Spanish imperial power in Mexico, okay? Through an expedition led by Isidro Barradas on the shores of Tamaulipas, which failed. That was great, imagine. It was until 1833 that after the death of Fernando VII, the Spanish kingdom finally reorganized the sovereignty of Mexico in 1836. Remember that I already told you last class that Iturbide and Virrey O'Donoghue had signed the Treaty of Cordoba, right? With that treaty, Viceroy O'Donoghue recognized Mexico as independent, okay? But it was until 1836, okay, 1836, that Fernando VII recognized sovereignty of Mexico. Why? Because he's dead, okay? Well, and I have a big question for you guys. So if the empire finished, we're talking about we need a new way of govern. And yes, of course, that's where the republic starts. But if we are talking about a republic, we are talking about a president. So tell me, guys, I hope you know the answer. Can anyone tell me who was the first president of Mexico? Come on, guys, I know you can. Who was? Yes, Ayala.
Guadalupe Victoria.
Excellent.
Guadalupe.
Exactly. Guadalupe Victoria started to be our first president. And that's why or how we can finish our history in this moment if we are talking about independence, guys, okay? So that's something that there are some facts that I wanted you to know before talking about what I'm going to talk right now, okay? So any questions in what happened after independence? Any?
No, miss.
Excellent. It was really quick, I know, but I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of facts of independence. Instead, I want to talk about some things maybe you don't know, okay? That's why I make this. I don't know if we are going to finish it, but I think it's going to be different and interesting for you. So we are going to talk about unknown facts about independence. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, so tell me if you know these facts, okay? They are going to be really, really interesting, I think. Okay. Did you know that independence began on September 16? When we celebrate independence? Tell me. When is the day that we reunited and celebrate independence?
El 15,
On
miss.
September.
On September 15, exactly. But did you know that independence began on September 16? Well, the reason that we celebrate independence on September 15 is because Porfirio Diaz was born on September 15. Remember this guy? He was one of the best presidents we had. And well, so from 1910, with the centenary of independence, it takes place on September 15. So remember, the next time you are celebrating independence, remember that actually we are celebrating the birthday of Porfirio Diaz, okay? That's why we start to celebrate independence on September 15, but we know that it began on September 16. Interesting, right? Well, I had told you already that we are the only country that celebrates the beginning of its independence and not its consummation. That's also interesting. Well, next point. What did Miguel Hidalgo scream? Some of you in your homework of The True Face of Hidalgo find out that Miguel Hidalgo hadn't screamed, "Long live Mexico," okay, or "Live Mexico," or whatever. Instead of that, this is what he screamed. It is known exactly, some maintain that he shouted, "Long live the Virgin of Guadalupe." You know that he grabbed the banner of the Virgin, of course, but "Long live the Catholic religion." Of course, he did scream that. "Long live King Ferdinand VII." Did you know that? That he screamed, "Long live King Ferdinand VII," because he was the true king that had to be on the throne by that time. But remember that Joseph Bonaparte, Pepe Botella, was in the power of Spain, okay? And Miguel Hidalgo screamed that against Napoleon's occupation of Spain. So that's an interesting fact also. Others, on the other hand, maintain that he pronounced death to the bad government, "Long live Mexico," "Live the independence," you know, actually the words that we know already, right? This is the most widespread and accepted version among historians. Okay, and of course, you know that actually the presidents scream that nowadays, okay? Next fact. Miguel Hidalgo, the father of fatherland, el padre de la patria. I think I already asked you if you remember the complete name of Miguel Hidalgo. Well, his full name was Miguel Gregorio Antonio Ignacio Hidalgo y Costilla Gallaga Mandarte Villaseñor. Oh my God. Oh, sorry. Wait for me, I have to read the chat. Well, did you know his full name? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hector, for letting me know. Well, yes, the full name of Hidalgo.
Siempre me confundo. No sé,
I can hear you very good.
Yo le dije algo aparte.
What?
Que yo a usted le dije algo aparte.
On the chat?
De que no se puede.
Yes.
Ajá.
Thank you very much. I already read it. Thank you for letting me know. Well, continuing with this, yes, of course, he has a really, really long name. And that's why, because he was a priest. Also, the ones, well, it was used to have a lot of names on that time, of course, but also it's because he was a priest. But okay. Another interesting fact is that it is said that Ignacio Allende and the priest Miguel Hidalgo were not very good friends, because they had their differences regarding the direction that the movement should take. Of course, they were in favor of the independence, yes, but they weren't very good friends, as I put in here. It is even said that Allende himself tried to poison the priest on 3 occasions. That is incredible, right? Well, things happen, and they didn't have to get well together to be on a common movement, right? So it's okay. Next point. What can you remember and what can you tell me about your homework, the one of the true face of Hidalgo? Who wants to participate? What can you remember of that homework?
That he also did a lot of stuff that was wrong and allow other people to do some more wrong stuff.
Okay, what else? Very good. Well, remember that we don't know the true face of Hidalgo. Why? Because, of course, if we talk about Hidalgo, we all know this face, right? This picture of the one I have in here. Well, The homework was for that. You to know that we don't know his real face, because during the New Spain, the Spanish authorities prohibited and destroyed any reference of him because everything that he was doing, okay? And it was during Maximiliano's empire, okay? This is an important fact, guys. Mexico had two empires. The first one, who was the first one? Who was the first emperor? I already told you.
Iturbide.
Excellent, Iturbide. And the second empire was by Maximiliano of Habsburg, okay? A lot of years later, 1861 actually. But in his empire, an attempt was made to spread the image and history of Hidalgo with the intention of promoting patriotism among the population. But when no image of Hidalgo was found, a Belgian priest and botanist who was part of the entourage of the Empress Charlotte was painted. So imagine or remember that when you see this image, you are looking at the botanist of Maximiliano. Why? Because he looked alike, a lot, right? Really a lot alike, as the descriptions of the real Miguel Hidalgo, okay? So since then, that's the image we know of the father of the fatherland. And actually, this is the only image that we know of him, these pictures we have in here. Because this statue, this little figure, was the only one that was made on the times of Miguel Hidalgo, not after, on the time when he was alive. And actually, this little statue is on the castle of Chapultepec. Have you go to the castle of Chapultepec? Some of you? Any one of you? Have you go? Do you know the castle? Castillo de Chapultepec?
Nope.
No? Well, if you, or any one of you have the opportunity, it's gorgeous, that castle. So there you can find this little statue. Well, let's go with the next point. Okay, the battle of independence, the fight for independence, did you know that could be finished the same year it started? Well, this fact I already put you on the notes, but I want to say it again. On October 30, 1810, one of the most important battle victories was won by the insurgent army led by the priest Hidalgo at Monte de las Cruces. You already know that. This combat opened the door to Mexico City, so Allende wanted to advance and take the metropolis to end suddenly with the war started in Dolores. Imagine this, if they took Mexico City, they could win. And that means the independence will be consummated. What happened in there? Well, Miguel Hidalgo, perhaps still overwhelmed by the violent scenes of what he witnessed in Guanajuato, where his uncontrollable host caused much death and pain. We're talking about the Duke of the Alhóndiga of Granaditas, okay? He preferred not to advance, okay? Inexplicably ordered the withdrawal of the contingent and headed for the western area where he thought he would recover and reorganize better his army. So that was a shame. They could have win and finish that battle. For the next point, this is one of the most important, well, no, not most important, but one of the most interesting facts, guys. The column of independence, where is it? Where is this column? Can anyone say?
Mexico.
Exactly, Mexico City. So this column was made for celebrating the centenary of independence on the times of Porfirio Diaz. In 1823, the heads and bodies of the four main shot and beheaded leaders in Chihuahua were ordered to be transported with honors and responses to the foot of the altar of the kings in the Cathedral of Mexico. Remember that the heads of Hidalgo and Allende were hung on the plaza, okay? But then they were transported to this cathedral. The mortal remains remained in the cathedral until its transfer to the Independence Column in 1926. Common call, Angel of Independence. So, yes, the bodies of these people are in here, inside of the column. That's amazing, right? Well, to finish this point, yes, of course, they are buried in here. So this is like a tomb right now. Did you know that? And did you know that you can enter to the column? And if you enter the column, well, you know now. If you enter to the column, to the inside part of the column, you're going to find out this guy. And who's this guy? Well, his name is Guillaume de Lampart. He can be considered as the first one in trying a kind of independence. Here is his history. He was an Irish immigrant conspirator, soldier, revolutionary, and mystical poet who traveled to the viceroyalty of New Spain. So he came in here. He wanted to pass himself off as the son of Felipe III of Spain with the idea of ruling the Spanish colony, and once in power, freeing Indians, blacks, and mestizos. He was discovered, persecuted by the courts of the Inquisition, and sentenced to death burned alive at the stake. That's why many consider him one of the forerunners of independence, and his statue is found inside Independence Monument in Mexico. So guys, what do you think about the facts I told you? Guys, what do you think about this
A
guy?
mí me gustó el hecho de la tumba en el ángel de la independencia.
Yes, right? It's really interesting. I know. What else? What else, guys? Any other opinion? Well, I hope you had liked it. I hope you liked the class. And well, I'm going to say goodbye to you today. Let me pass the system. Please don't go. Gerardo is here? No? Mikel? Mikel is here? No? Emiliano?
Presente.
Natalie? Luis? Please don't go, guys.
Presente.
Excellent. José Iván?
Presente.
Excellent. Zaira? Excellent. Alexia? Héctor? Héctor isn't here. Okay. Sofía? Edgar? Luana?
Presente, presente.
Okay.
Presente.
Excellent. Carlo? Alexander? Cristian?
Presente, presente.
María José?
Alexander.
Presente.
Okay. Luna? Victoria? And Daniela?
Here.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, guys, for attending.
Presente.
Okay. It was a pleasure to have classes with you guys. This is our last class. It was for a short time, but I'm happy with that. Well, thank you very much for everything, guys. Take care. See you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.